But the second thing I noticed too were a lot of people who were never, I guess we like had a faith or a religion. Suddenly I was reading countless of them coming up. I just started to pray today. I never believed in the Bible. I never believed in the apocalypse. But today I believe, and I started praying, and I'm going to pray every day that I'm alive from this point forward and how far I can make it. I was blown away how easily they were skewed towards something just out of intense fear. It blew my mind. I was like, wow, that's all it took for them to completely, all of a sudden, I found God. I was amazed by that. I was like, I couldn't believe people, and it was a lot of people all over the world. So that really got the ball rolling.
What's up, everybody? It's Keefy at GhostCultMag.com back with another interview. I am super stoked to talk to Vince from Evoken. How are you doing today, sir?
Good. It's one more day closer to Friday.
You know, there's been very few bad Fridays in my entire life.
Yeah, but they go so quick because by Friday night, I'm like, man, it's gonna be Sunday night before I know it.
The Sunday scaries come earlier and earlier the older you get. This is a
Yeah,
thing they need to teach school children and teenagers, like, get ready. The thing you did, the Sunday scaries are real, probably realistic for school too. Um, why are we hanging out and chatting today? You have a brand new album coming out on Profound Lore Records, Mendacium. Hopefully I said that correctly.
yep,
I didn't have a lot of time to practice.
you dig.
You're a longtime artist. Followed your career for a bit, and this record is super interesting. Not just every band says this latest record is my favorite or our best, but
Right.
definitely most interesting is 100% applicable. Concept record. It's not super far flung. It has a strange thread through it that just very telling about today. Even let's delve into this. If you don't mind giving a quick overview of the concept of the record for our viewers and listeners.
Yeah, sure, absolutely. Well, the protagonist is a 14th century Benedictine monk who's elderly, very sick. He's confined to the cell that he's in. He has only the only thing he can feel any peace from. He's not letting go of this life yet. Feels that he'll leave it in God's hand. So his only sense of peace and comfort are his canonical hours of prayer. But one morning when he wakes up to start his daily prayers at matins, that peace, that calm that he was feeling as a direct connection to God was just completely subjugated by something that he could feel, he could sense it, a heaviness to him, like something sucked all the air out and replaced it with fear. And this thing that he perceives, this thing comes through terror and reality and attacks the very thing that he felt he had some sort of, I don't want to say control, but it was his stability. And that was to remove the ability to observe the 8 canonical hours by coming to him every hour and reminding him of everything that he held back throughout his life, the wrongs that were done to him, the lies that were taught to him, and he's taught to others. In order for the lyrics to make sense, I had to come up with something like as a preface, as kind of something to bookend everything to give context to the lyrics. So you'll see in the layout, there's a letter to Pope Clement VI from the abbot of the monastery, and that'll tie into the lyrics. It'll make the lyrics have a little more context. It'll give a little more context to the album cover as well.
That's huge and very, very dare I say, deep. Do you have like a more than passing interest in religion or this time in the world? What a super cool and specific concept for the record.
A little bit of everything. I went to Catholic school. There's nothing you can show. They don't want to show kids horror movies, but if you walk into a church, it's some of the goriest things you'll see. Like people nail to crosses and such. But what really fascinated me, what started me on the whole idea was early on in the pandemic, they had a YouTube channel. And on this YouTube channel, it looked like the Olympics. They had people infected with COVID. It was like in the beginning of lockdown, fatalities, I guess you would call it. people that have recovered. And then they had a list of countries with the most at the very top and big. Below that, there was a chat. There were thousands of people in this chat room from all over the world. And I noticed two things. One was a lot of parents who had to stay strong for their spouse, for their kids, for their parents, for whoever was close to them. They felt a sense of they had the ability to express how they truly felt in that chat room, which was scared. They were worried about if they died, their kids becoming foster kids. But the second thing I noticed too were a lot of people who were never, I guess we like had a faith or a religion. Suddenly I was reading countless of them coming up. I just started to pray today. I never believed in the Bible. I never believed in the apocalypse. But today I believe, and I started praying, and I'm going to pray every day that I'm alive from this point forward and how far I can make it. I was blown away how easily they were skewed towards something just out of intense fear. It blew my mind. I was like, wow, that's all it took for them to completely, all of a sudden, I found God. I was amazed by that. I was like, I couldn't believe people, and it was a lot of people all over the world. So that really got the ball rolling.
Fascinating stuff there. And, it's not the first pandemic in world history, and it won't be the
Right.
last. It's just the
Nope.
first one in the Western world that we really experienced. I think back to my grandmother would tell us about like a decade where they all wore masks, and she had
Yeah.
TB and luckily beat it. She was a tough lady. But, yeah, super interesting, right? Yeah, like this is really interesting. There's a great quote in the press materials for the album that says, "The capacity of passion is both cruel and divine," by George Sand. And I thought this was super interesting in terms of just the construction of the album, the titles of the song, the pacing, the album artwork, even just so many directions to go. I want to thank you and shout out the album artwork, because a lot of times when it comes to comparative religion and a study of religiosity against the worldview, these album covers from most death metal bands are horrifying, and I get screwed for sharing them on videos and things that we do to promote new music every week from underground
Right.
bands. And this album is very ominous, but it's very subtle. And I thank you and your artist.
That's worthless. He did a great job. Just gave him the lyrics, the backstory. I had a couple details, the music, and he ran with it. And he did something cool. Like if you look at the album cover, in order he needed a stand-in to have something that he can use as while he's painting. So that room that's there, that's actually in his basement. And where the monk is, he had a skeleton. He took the skeleton and he posed it in the way you see the monk is, and he put I forget what book it was. He put this giant book on a holder on the floor, and he took pictures of it, and then used that as a kind of like a template to look at while he was painting everything. So the doorway where the sunlight's coming in, that pale light, that's actually another room in his basement in the photo, but he painted it to be outside.
Super
Yeah.
cool. I love it so much. Maybe the blood will catch the AI overlords. Hopefully we can skate under their radar. But other than that,
Yeah.
yeah, it's extremely powerful. And again, just like staring at the album cover and listening to the record, it's like it really does the work for you, for your brain, which I love. Thank you.
That's great. That's great.
And obviously, I don't know if you wrote these songs in order or if they just kind of took shape and you sequenced them a certain way. But clearly, there's a journey here. The album is meant to be listened to all in a go, which I'm a fan of. I still listen to albums. I was listening to
Me
whole
too.
albums for the
Yeah, I'm not a
longest
fan of
time.
singles. I'm not a fan of singles.
And I love concept records. So I wanted to ask you if, getting ready to do this or as you were writing this, were there any specific concept records that you revisited from the past that you enjoyed or that you're a particular fan of in life?
I mean, I was always a fan. You have Iron Maiden, who are notorious for that. No, not notorious, but actually, it was I really wasn't even planning on it being a concept album until all the music was finished, and I was able to sit down and listen to rehearsals that we record on our cell phone to get a general idea of what I was, just to get some sort of atmosphere. Like, what am I getting from this? Am I getting a certain time period? Is it modern? Is it medieval? Is it older? So the music really shaped a lot of that. But the story the foundation of the story actually started back on Moors, because I was really down a rabbit hole about the Black Death, bubonic plague. And I tend to write, I'll put things in my phone I come across at any point in time. If I'm going down a rabbit hole and I'm like, oh, that's interesting, I'm going to make a note of that. And then I'll forget about it. So there were a lot of notes that I had from Moors, and I was just like, I'm feeling this when listening to these songs. It feels like this atmosphere, and it feels like something's going on here. And I went back to my phone to look, and I was just like, oh, I remember that. So I was like, let me go with that. I just had to find a way to merge that with the lyrics, to give the lyrics context. I wasn't even really thinking of concept when I started writing the lyrics and everything. It was just like, okay, I just wanted to set an atmosphere, but then it just kind of took a life of its own.
Right on. By the way, don't second guess yourself. Iron Maiden has 17 albums in 45 years, 50
Yeah, I
years
love
as a
this
band,
shit.
45 years on record. And they have 4 or 5 concept records. It's okay. That
Yeah,
is notorious.
yeah,
That's 5. That's quite a number. 5 out of
yeah. I
17
get you're right.
is a
You're
number.
right.
So good shit there, man. Like, for sure. Mine, I'm partial to Power Slave and Somewhere in Time
Oh,
in terms of the concept records, but
yes, yes.
Book of Souls is not bad, and I love Senjutsu. I'm one guy that really loved that record.
Yeah, I love
Uh,
Maiden. I love Maiden.
yeah, man, how can you not?
Yeah,
It's not going to be the same when they're not around and they
I
retired.
know.
But
I know.
yeah, man, what a super cool record. And just then, personally, was there anything that writing this record and completing this record did for you in terms of your worldview or your opinion of faith or faithful people or this story? Did this, change anything for you at all through the process?
Yeah, it opened my eyes to don't not take even don't appeal to authority. Don't take someone just because someone's an expert in something doesn't make them always right. And sometimes some of them will be nefarious. I would say it allowed me, because there was a lot of things going on with the band too at the time, with different members having parents get sick and dying, friends dying. It was on a constant roller coaster. But it just opened my eyes to, like, you know what, if I guess learn on your own. Don't take people's words for it, and educate yourself on whatever it is that you need to to find out about. Don't rely on others. That really opened this gave me the opportunity to go, really, that I felt that way before, but now I really feel that way.
Nice. That's good. Reinforcement through your own creative outlets. In addition to this record, I feel like the artwork, you took some risks, let's say, that most bands in the genre, the heaviest genres of music, don't take. I love this music video. It's super compelling
Oh,
and
thanks.
helps, I think, kind of illustrate not just the track None, but the whole record. I wanted you to talk about it's like, I think, the first actual official music video from the band
Yeah.
that's not like a lyric video.
Yeah, no, it's well, it took us a little bit for like 30 plus years. But yeah, it was like I was always opposed to doing music videos because I didn't see a point in them. But the past few years, it was just like you kind of have to now. Like everybody's so visually stimulated as far as things are concerned, even with music. So we were just like, let's do a video. We had no idea how the hell to do it, who you go to do it. We went to Ron Bumblefoot to see, like, hey, how do we even approach this shit? And he gave us some ideas, and then a friend of our Rob Nelson, who also does our sound guy. He plays drums in Negative Plane. His wife Ava, a sweetheart. She turns out she does music videos. She's been doing it for a while. She knows people in the industry that have high end equipment that were willing to do it. I think one of them even was a fan of the music, and she was just like, you know, uh, I'll put together kind of like a storyboard, an idea. I have the crew. It's going to be very high end. It's going to be shot cinematically. I have the 2 actors that are in it, and if it wasn't for her, that budget would have been way out of her. We would have never have been able to afford a video like that in any way. It probably would have been like a lyric had we not. As long as it's not AI, it's not AI. But yeah, it's really cool to see, like, to experience and see how things are done. It's amazing. Like, you got to play, but you're playing to the backtrack, so you got to look like you're playing, but you can't really play. Especially you're in a church, so it's like what are you gonna do? But at least I got to sit in a pew. I never thought I'd be in a church with a beer just watching somebody like it was a show.
Amazing. Yeah, shout out to Ava for that video and the incredible photo of the band from that video shoot.
Yeah, man.
Probably the coolest video, probably the coolest band photo ever. It's not just like a bunch of severe looking, upset guys in
Well,
black.
we weren't even planning. She was just like, okay, band photos. Like, oh, okay.
Sick. Yeah, it's great. It's so killer, and it's probably something. I think if you've been a long time follower, even of the label, most bands on underground labels don't get to do a video this good looking and this cool looking. And you can, and bands, rely on yourselves and network with your friends, and don't do AI, please. If you can get
Yeah,
real artists to do artwork, if you can do real videos, do them.
exactly.
I know it's expensive and hard to be in a band at any level, but I'm urging people, just don't get lazy about AI is useful. Machine learning, we've been doing it a long time, but like let's be real,
Yeah,
keep it real, as
yeah.
they say. Shout out to Bumblefoot, man. We've interviewed Ron. He's wonderful. What did you
Oh, I
get?
love them.
Yeah, what'd you get from this experience of him and getting to know him and work with him on your music? Because as again, band's been around a long time, a lot of records, a lot of, like different producers, but Ron is definitely, could do anything, right? He's so
Yeah,
gifted as an artist and a musician. Super
he's got
cool
hot
in a,
sauce. He's got everything. It's crazy.
yeah.
Ron, I love that guy to death. He is an amazing human being. Yes, he's a virtuoso guitarist, an amazing recording engineer, an amazing singer. But the most important is he's an amazing human being, an amazing friend. We worked with him for the first three albums, and then he went and excuse me, joined Guns N' Roses. So obviously we didn't have him anymore. But he came back and he was doing recordings again, and we were just got in touch with him, like, we're looking to record the next record. He was like, yes, let's do it. Absolutely. And he called me like, what are you setting up? What amps are you using? What drums are you using? Really excited, and he could do anything. He plays on the album. He does an acoustic guitar on Prime, and he does a cello on, I think it's Terse. And he has really interesting ideas, the way he goes about things, like a mad scientist, but he's down to earth. He has not changed. Nothing of being, on these huge stages with Guns N' Roses or his album Simon Space having Brian May on there. And it's just like he's still the same Ron that we knew 20 years ago before. So, and he brought a lot of interesting ideas that we hadn't uh, heard or tried to do before. So yeah, he's a wealth of knowledge.
Yeah, Ron rules. We got to interview him. I'm a huge music nerd, of course, and got to talk shop with him and talk about his own records. And his solo stuff's very heavy for people who, he's been in some killer super groups and stuff. I know Sons of Apollo is kind of done now, but like,
yeah.
He's got he likes a lot of heavy music. People don't think of him like that because I think the personality is so huge. The Guitar Hero Shred guys don't understand that, but he's a fan of all music, especially heavy music, which is great.
Yeah. I was like, the funny thing, I was asked, like, how does that work? Like, you guys, Ron is like a virtuoso, you guys, this metal band. And I was like, maybe it's because the person who can, you have one person that can play anything, shred, fly up and down the neck of a guitar at will, paired up with the least complex guitar players, where it's just very simple and slow. I think maybe those two things combined, work well together, I guess.
Yeah, well, I think he's a person that appreciates the art that other people make, right? Like that get too into my head about it, but I think he's just a guy. His music has been his whole life for so long, and I know that we all come across those guys like, well, if you can't play 1,000 notes in a second, they didn't appreciate it. Funeral, death metal, doom metal, funeral doom, whatever you want to. Genre tags are for journalists, by the way, not for fans. But like, we're nerds, and we need everything, baby food spoon to us in a high chair because we can't, form shit if we don't get it told to us what it is. But you can appreciate just good music, whatever it is.
Yeah, it doesn't matter what type it is.
Yeah, man, and Ron is one of those people. He just breathes music, right?
Yeah. Oh my
And
God, forget it.
I'm so glad you got to go back and work with him again. He's such a
Yeah, we
killer
are
person.
too. We are too. Yeah, we're gonna go out to dinner. I think the night or the night after the album, just to celebrate their album release. So I'm looking forward to that.
Sick, man, sick. Is there any? I know this is getting kind of a little in the woods and cliche and woo woo, but is there any chance that maybe someone can enable you to do this record like live as a whole piece? Is that possible?
We're up to anything. To be quite honest with you. Give us enough time to just work on the songs. They're the most they're fresh in our mind as opposed to like quietus or antithesis. Yeah, I mean we're not unopposed to doing that at all. Would love to do that. I have ideas for visuals on stage that I want to try and implement this next go around touring and playing shows. So we'll see what happens with that.
Right on. I'm gonna wish it into existence. Decibel Metal and Beer Fest, any of those, or Roadburn over in Europe, which we are big fans of and I've covered.
Yeah, we
Those would be
played
the ideal
Roadburn.
places that would put that together.
Yeah, Roadburn was one. I mean, it's such a really tight ship. And Walter's just an amazing, amazing guy. I mean, he didn't have to invite us because we were initially invited in 2010 when Tom G. Warrior was curating a day. He got in touch with us and said, "Hey, would you guys be interested in playing the day that I'm curating?" I'm like, absolutely. Are you kidding me? But then the volcano blew up and then that all went to hell. And then Walter invited us back the next year. Despite that, he still brought us back over the next year, which is he didn't have to do.
Walter's incredible. Tom G is incredible. These are all people I've been lucky somehow. What a strange puzzle piece. All these things coming together for my career and my life, but really
Yeah.
cool. Walter is one of my favorite people in the whole
Yeah.
world, and what he's given the world cannot be duplicated or replicated anywhere. It's incredible. Roadburn's very special to us. We were founded as a zine in the Netherlands, basically to cover Roadburn and avant-garde underground metal. And then I kind of came in and like, let's cover thrash metal and let's cover new metal and let's cover punk rock. But that's because, again, journalists, very middle aisle of the supermarket. Last good question for you, Vince. You've been terrific, man. Most people don't have this kind of honesty and in touch with their art, and not pretentious at all. I really appreciate you. You're fantastic, man. We're going to release this album comes out in October. Again, my lizard brain is like, ask this guy what horror movies he likes. What's your favorite horror movie ever, if you have one?
Oh God. I'm a fan of there's an Italian horror movie called Cemetery Man. I love that movie. Of course, the original Night of the Living Dead. The original Nosferatu, Phantom of the Opera. The first Friday the 13th. There's so many of them. There's ones that are so bad. I don't even remember the title. I remember, God, it had to be like 25, 30 years ago. I was sitting with my friends watching this horror movie, and you could see the guy with the bucket. There was like a bucket like off screen, like the woman was being slaughtered on the ground, and you just see just the edge of the bucket just throw the blood into the. It was like that bad, but it was so good. It was that bad.
I love the B movies and the B horror movies. There's some charm about them.
Yeah,
That makes them
absolutely.
kind of pure in their own way. They're not high concept art, but they're
Nope.
where their heart is, right?
Yeah.
Literally and figuratively where their heart is in making
Yeah.
low grade horror movies. There's something about it. But yeah, Cemetery Man's incredible. I saw that probably also way too young at an impressionable age. I should not have seen it. Show that to children and teach them. You're gonna, Anyhow, Vince from Evoken, what an awesome, fun conversation. Thank you so much for this record. Mendacium is coming out on Profound Lore Records October 17th. And just a pleasure. I hope to see you on the road. If you come out on tour, we'll cover you wherever we can in the world. I'd be very proud to once again see you guys. And thank you for everything.
Yeah, thank you, man. We'll be out there. There's dates coming.
Take care, man. We'll see you soon.
Thanks, man.
See ya.
Feel better, bro.
Thank you. I will.